Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This video is all going to be about managing your school while being a mom. This is kind of specific to being a mom, but it's also just good tips in general for productivity and time management. So if you are interested in that, then keep watching this video. Alright, hi y'all. So I was wearing my glasses because I was like, oh, I should look like super smart for this video, wear your glasses. But they create like a really weird glare and I feel like that would be just super distracting, so I am not doing that anymore. I wrote down some tips a while ago for this because I was planning on doing this video before the whole quarantine happened. So I'm going to have to kind of adjust them because obviously a few of these tips do involve kind of reaching out to other supports, and at this point in time many of us do not have any other support other than maybe just ourselves or maybe a partner or a friend or a family member, but maybe not too many that are staying with us. So a little bit about my specific situation. I'm doing all online classes right now, which actually made the transition, I think a lot of people are having a hard time doing online classes due to the quarantine. I've been managing this for a while, so nothing really changed in my daily life. I'm doing just 3 online classes now. I am going back to school, finishing my degree. I have 3 years under my belt. I pretty much have just 1 more to go, so I'm slowly chipping away at that 1 year worth of classes to be done and to be graduated. I'm trying to do as many as I can online so I can stay at home and be with my son during, the day, which obviously that's mostly everybody's case now, is being at home with their kids. So tip number 1 for you guys, this one's so straightforward, it's organization. I am very disorganized. I'm not very disorganized, but I'm a super forgetful person. So if I don't write things down as soon as I need to do them, and if I don't create a timeline to have a certain project, essay, or study for an exam, any sort of school activity done by a certain time, most likely it'll be procrastinated to the last minute. So I'm very focused on my agenda. The one I use is this one, At a Glance. Oh, I still have stuff on it. At a Glance 2020. It has let me go to a month I haven't written in. Oh yeah, this is for October. So it has a full calendar and you can write down certain things that are due. And then it also has sort of like a day-by-day thing. I love this one. First of all, the color I find really cute. I don't like any agendas that are smaller than this. I'm super weird. I want like a full big book because I like to actually have it splayed out on my desk. I lay it out the week before so it has sort of like that week, or like so that specific week it'll be open and it'll show me all the tasks that I have to do for that week, and I don't close it. And it's always there kind of staring me in the face like, you need to do this, you need to do this, whatever. I write school things, I write bills, I write appointments, like even things like, oh, I want to make sure I clean like a certain specific area or organize a specific area of the house by this time. Like I write down pretty much everything and you have to stare it in the face. Sorry if I'm looking here, it's because my laptop's right here and I have all my notes here. I find also for me, when I'm taking notes for all my classes, keeping it simple is better. So I use a program called OneNote. It's a Microsoft program online. You can actually create different tabs for each of your courses, and within those tabs you can create different lectures or different notes that are compressed in certain, whatever, I'm trying to sound real smart and techie, I don't know. But it gives you different it's a very organized way to keep track of your notes online. I used to just do Word document and I would type out my notes that way. It was so messy and difficult, and you lose notes and you can't access them if you don't have your laptop unless you store them onto your iCloud. This one, it automatically does all of that, which is really great. So I definitely love using that program. If you're not a fan, or if you're in a lot of math-based courses or chemistry or whatever, and it's easier to actually take notes by hand, then I would suggest just getting one notebook. Get one of those really expensive like Hilroy 5-course ones. Hopefully there's enough pages. I know sometimes that's an issue, is there's not enough pages. If not, then get like the 3 ones, 2 of them or something. because the more notebooks you have, you'll go to your class and then you'll realize like, oh crap, I brought the wrong notebook for today. And you don't want to be carting around like 5 different notebooks and different binds and rings. It's like, it's so unnecessary. So I definitely think laptop, if you are able to, or if you have access to a laptop, because I understand not everyone does have access to one, that is the best I found for me. But also those big binders too, really good way to do it. Also creating a schedule for yourself. For a lot of you guys now, we're quarantined, we're doing all of our classes online. If your professor is pre-recording their lectures and still uploading at the same time, I would still follow that schedule as best as you can, since you're so used to it at this point. Try not to, oh, I don't have to, tune into my lecture at 7:30, because as soon as you do that, it kind of pushes it off, and then you maybe don't ever check out that lecture, or it becomes too much at the end of the year and you don't have time to actually watch those lectures. So I would say try, do yourself a favor, take that hour and a half. You're doing it anyways, before the quarantine, and tune in to your lecture at that time, watch it, take your notes, and then you're done and you don't have to worry about it. Create a specific schedule of when you want to just review and study certain things. A lot of us are approaching our final exams now, adding that on top of the huge stress pile that is the world right now. And I find for me, depending on the class, I try to dedicate 15 to 20 hours worth of studying for each course. When I was in my first year, that's what one of my advisors had said on average is the amount of time you might need to study for a specific class to fully understand it. This is different for person to person. I found this structure works very well for me. So for 15 days, I dedicate 1 hour out of each day prior to the exam to study for that one block for that class. And that might help you guys as well. Definitely use, again, your handy dandy planner and write down, oh, I'm going to study physics today, or, I'm going to study English for an hour and a half today. And then you can slowly start taking that time off of, the total 15 or 20 hours, whatever you find works best for you. Another thing I find really helps when I'm doing my online classes is while I'm listening to the lecture, I'll actually have the notes pulled up and or the textbook. I find it actually the best for me is to first read the textbook chapter that they're going to be discussing that day in class before. I don't take any notes on it, I just kind of review it. And then that way when I listen to the lecture, I'm like, oh hey, I remember. Your brain makes associations from 2 different ways that they absorb that information, and I find you're more likely to remember it. Maybe there's some scientific, proof that backs me up on that. I feel like maybe there is. But just absorbing that information 2 different ways from 2 different, from reading and then from also hearing it, just helps you kind of, obtain that information and really remember it for exam time, whatever. I know sometimes, you can zone out and get kind of bored when you're listening to lectures. Another thing that I find kind of helps me stay focused is really while they are talking, really kind of focus on what the point they're trying to make is and condense it. And that kind of might be counterintuitive for some people, but I find professors obviously want to elaborate on a point more. Most of the time PowerPoints will have that point already condensed for you, but I do kind of recommend you guys coming up with your own sort of ways to summarize what they're saying. Obviously it's super important for you to take that information and put it in your own words and your own understanding, because that's more likely you're memorizing your own words, you're more likely to understand your sentence structure than a professor's, if that makes sense. I don't know if any of that makes sense. Kind of like if it's coming from your brain, you get what your brain's trying to say, you're more likely to understand it because you know what you're trying to say there. Whereas if a professor says something, sometimes it's different language than you would use. It's kind of memorizing maybe certain words that you wouldn't use in your daily vocabulary to understand a concept or theory. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I have no idea if these are helpful or if anyone really gets these. Another thing, I struggle with this so much and I think a lot of you guys will now as well, is trying to study somewhere where there are no distractions. Below this point, I had said, oh, drop the kids off at a family member, friend, or whatever, and go get a coffee for a little bit and obviously those are things we cannot do anymore. If you are a mom or a parent in general, you understand that when the baby's awake, ooh, they need a lot of attention, and you gotta watch them like crazy, because obviously, or if your baby's moving. My son just started crawling, and he gets into and eats everything on the floor. I have to vacuum like 5 times a day because he keeps on finding little bits of dirt and I don't know where. Maybe from Ollie, maybe from my dog, but yeah, so it's a full-time job for sure. So I don't know if I have any really good tips for this right now during quarantine. I know this sounds terrible, and I know like for a lot of new parents, nap time is your break time, but I would definitely say like during nap times, try to pull out a book and read for a little bit, even 20 minutes, and then, you know, do something else, or try to make studying fun. Which is what I've done. Like, I try to get ready, I look cute, I'll like get my books out, I'll be snuggled on the couch, and I'll read a couple of chapters, and that makes it feel a little bit less like a chore, maybe more like I'm choosing to do this and it's fun to do this. Definitely when your child goes to bed at night, that's kind of like you go hard mode, you know what I mean? Like that is like you are zoned into studying, focused, everything. At that point, it's definitely a lot easier to get work done. Your child is quieter, sleeping, hopefully, maybe through the night. And I definitely would say like whenever they go to bed, as soon as, I know this is also another tough thing, because I know for me I struggle. I want to take a break, I want to relax. Looking after your child, especially when they're on the move, is so exhausting. But as soon as they go to bed, take, you know, obviously for sure, take 30 minutes, have a tea, watch a show, read a book, do whatever you want to do to relax and calm down. And then as soon as that time's done, only give yourself half an hour, go right back into studying, and try to do that until about 10 p.m. You know, I don't know, it depends on when your child goes to bed. I try to do 3 hours, especially when it comes close to exam time. Definitely I need 3 hours every night. And then, but give yourself breaks as well, like weekends, don't do it, or maybe a certain day of the week when it's been a hard day and you don't want to study, don't study. But definitely try and keep a good balance there. We have a couple of days on and more days studying than more days not, especially during this time. It is going to be a huge adjustment for a lot of people to manage their own education like this through an online portal where you're not required to go in anywhere. It's just making it a lot easier for, you know, us to not do it, and a lot easier for us to focus on a lot of the negative and bad things that are going on in the world right now. I think, you know, I see school as a blessing at this point because it is a healthy and amazing distraction for me to kind of channel in all my boredom and whatever into this and feel productive and feel accomplished. So hopefully that kind of gives you guys a new perspective on your education, especially during this time. We are obviously so lucky to have this opportunity to study, and we should always be trying to do our best. And yeah, that's my spiel on that. Okay, I got really off point there. And then my last point, which again applies more to when we are out of quarantine, is do not be afraid to ask for help and to reach out to extended family. I had a hard time doing this in the beginning when Wyatt was really young. I didn't want to ask for help. I wanted to be able to be, you know, a great mom and do school and be smart and all that stuff and do everything well, and that's just not the reality of the situation. You are going to need time off. Right now, obviously, we're all quarantined and we're locked down. So if you have, hopefully you have someone else staying with you. It's just all about kind of creating a healthy balance. I'm not asking you to spend like 8 hours, you know, locked in a room in your house while your child is playing away downstairs without you. You know, maybe like an hour or two if you don't want to study at night or something. If you're more productive during the day. Yeah. But that's my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully everyone is faring well during this quarantine season and is doing the best they can. I know it is such a stressful and trying time for everyone. Hopefully we can remember to be so grateful for what we have, but please remember that, you know, during all of this, to just control what you can control. Stress over what you can control, not what you can't control. We can't control what's happening in the world right now, but we can control, you know, how we divide up our time in the day, and making sure it's a healthy balance, making sure we don't overstress and overwork ourselves, but making sure that we don't treat this exactly like a break and do zero work either. We need to still be productive. We're humans. We want to work. We want to be productive. We want to contribute to our community and our family. Wow, that's my whole spiel. That was like 3 minutes and that was boring. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I also have done Wyatt's 9-month update if you're interested in seeing how big he is and how much he's growing. In that video, I said he wasn't crawling, but he would be. A couple days later, he's now crawling all over the place. Yes, okay, I'm done talking. I'm just word vomiting. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching my video. I'm gonna link down below my Instagram, my TikTok, because I've fallen in love with that whole platform. Like, who would have thought? And yeah, please like, comment, subscribe. All right, thanks guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.